Meritorious, victorious, Erastus, necessitas, Honorarius, despondeo, Spiritus Abdomio, Patriarcha Gladiator, Afflictio Divinitas salutaras, Vertivas libertas, Elatorious, victorialis, Erastus, necessitas, Honorarius, despondeo, Spiritus Abdomio, Patriarcha Gladiator, Afflictio Divinitas salutaras, Vertivas libertas.
Hello my brothers, this is Yor, welcome back to Yor, I'm Celtic Templar, and welcome back to another how-to video. And today we are actually going to be covering the late Roman Legionnaire, pretty much from the time of the 4th to the 5th century AD, and sometimes to the 6th century AD. Now, the equipment of the late Roman Legionnaire were pretty much as follows of military equipment, as you can see. They would have worn mostly mail armor. Those that could afford it would wear scale armor, like you would soon see with my Roman officer or Roman centurion video. But the majority of times they would have worn mail, and if they couldn't afford it, they would just wear padding underneath, like what I'm wearing right now. Some accounts do state, though, the padding would have been sleeveless, would have had no tassels or whatever. It would just been left blank, probably to add a more lighter effect for the said arms. Now, the late Roman Legionnaire pretty much, wore this equipment in different variations, and in doing so they had different types of swords, though mostly they had something like this, known as the Fletwell Spatha, which is mostly a cutting style Spatha rather than a thrusting one because it is very tip heavy. But this Spatha sword still is technically usable. Now, by the time of the late 4th century AD, the Romans started to, or somewhere in their mid to late 4th century, the Romans started to have more of a flatter type of design of scabbard, no longer the big round piece on the bottom. As well, the weaponry and equipment that changed with this was mainly because of the 3rd century Roman legionnaires and auxiliaries. So we can see why this equipment changed. No longer the Roman pilum, I now have Roman plumbata darts, which they would have carried this in more than one variety. Originally they had it on the shield, but some stated that it was too cumbersome, made the shield a little heavier, or it got in the way, or they fell off. So they switched more to a bag, which I can understand why. Now, grabbing to the bag would be a little bit easier, but many historians do proclaim that the equipment used would have varied from unit to unit, depending on how they, would have preferred. Now, there is actually the fact that the plumbata replaced the said pilum for one major reason. Because one, it is lighter, but still effective. And the fact is, I doubt you want to get this thing stuck in you as much than, because these are harder to dodge than a pilum. Because the pilums were mainly a heavier type of throwing javelin, which made it very harder to throw. These can go a little bit further, as you will see in some of the description videos. Another thing that would also change would be the shield. The shield would be the most, basic change. It would evolve pretty much from the oval style shield to a lot more round shield-like type shield, as we can see. Reason being, they wanted it to be light and effective. The late Roman legionnaires were mostly a defensive style of military that could actually protect and as well defend the Roman Empire as long as they could. And the fact is, these guys were actually meant to protect their army, the entirety of the Roman frontier, and so much so that my tunic would probably not even be the informational Roman standard tunic. If no, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a tunic that looks like this, so that's as best as we can get to it. But at the frontiers, I doubt they would have worn that because, one, you don't want to have this slowly fade off. You want to keep it. So, in other words, you show off to the ladies that, hey, I'm a Roman soldier. So, yeah. But yeah, the shield, though, would be the most biggest change to the Roman type of legions, because they would have had the informational oval shield at one point in time, but switched mostly to the round shield because it was a little bit lighter. Another thing that would change would be the spear. The spear starts to come around and as well becomes a major weapon for the Roman legions to pretty much hold off the enemy and as well make it look like a hoplite formation, which that's actually what the Romans did. They copied from the earlier Roman texts. So in other words, they took from their original holdings and thus went back to this basic spear instead of this throwing javelins and using their gladius. So we can see why. In fact, they switched that sometime during the 3rd century crisis. Another change would be the helmet. The helmet would be the biggest one of them all. There was a huge variety of style of helmets, and there's no particular design that each legion favored or was uniformal. It was just the whichever you can afford and whichever you feel perfectly able to wear, then you're going to pretty much wear it. Now, most of the time, though, this was a rarity to see for foot soldiers because, one, this is mostly a cavalry style, but by the time of the sacking of Rome by the Gothic commander Alaric, it's actually stated that the most helmets that were actually used in the Western Roman Empire would be not like this, but mostly that of a lighter style helmet, which you will soon see. But the thing is, this was probably passed down to me from my father and his father, so in doing so I'm wearing it. Now, in doing so though, this helmet would later inspire various types of helmet designs in history, such as even the infamous Sutton Hoo helmet, and as well some early Anglo-Saxon style helmets, kind of like this. So yeah, this helmet did inspire a lot. So it might have actually been heavily favored in Western Europe for a time, until the Romans in the Western Roman Empire got very, very much poorer and poorer. In fact, if you all know in Roman history, the Western Roman Empire started to get weaker and weaker and even more in debt to the barbarians because they kept paying them off. So that was kind of its downfall. But as y'all can see, I am dressed as the attire, so why don't we get right into the video, shall we? I hope y'all liked that little run around. Now, as y'all saw, with me moving the equipment, I felt a little fatigue, but I was wanting to go with the without the mail for this one, but knowing the fact y'all pretty much already saw me without my mail on it, so yeah. And as well, the heat is bearing down out here. It is getting up into the 70s and 80s right now, so that's how hot it is here in Texas. So just imagine me wearing this in the parts of the Eastern Roman Empire. This would have been so heavy, I would have probably never wanted to have worn it. So when we saw me moving with the equipment, you saw me quickly go to the Pumbata first. That's because it is a light javelin style weapon. Then I go to my spear when I, well, stop throwing my javelins. Or in this case my Pumbata, because one, it is going to pretty much be a heavy type amount of warfare. So much so that it's going to end up involving me pushing forward in order to combat against my opponents. Now, as you also saw, I barely even used my sword in this video. That's because in historical times, the late Roman army would have rarely used their sword. They would have mostly used their spear, and that would be the most common weapon. Now, the one major problem I had with this equipment was the helmet, mainly the back neck flap. This is kind of the problematic part. This is why I had to wear this god-awful neck wrap known as the scarf, and especially in this degree of weather, it's supposed to keep my neck from getting chafing from the mail. However, it also keeps my back neck flap from getting caught in the mail as well. So yeah. But as you all see, the late Roman legionnaire is still an effective fighting soldier. He is light and yet effective compared to the Roman legionnaires of the mid-imperial times. Because one, if we know one thing from them, they were wearing lorica simitarta, lorica hamata, and as well throwing heavy javelin spears, a lot heavier than this one. So, yeah. I want to put this out here. The late Roman army was not meant mostly for offensive use. They were mainly used as a defensive unit. However, when it came to the reign of Justinian, they did retake parts of the Roman Empire, such as in Italy, and as well later into the lands of, well, Carthage. And they would actually start to reconquer various regions over and over again. However, because of the Arabic hordes that kind of ended up causing the problems with that, it's actually stated that this would later cause them to be more of a defensive unit yet again, and later had to switch their army and reform it to the later Byzantine design. So these guys were actually perfect for fighting against the Parthians and as well various other people. And we could see why the Romans kept using them for so long. From pretty much the, well, 4th century to pretty much about the end of the 6th century AD. But what do y'all think? Do you think that this Roman unit has less love than it really should, or do you believe that the late Roman army was nothing in such that it didn't do anything significant in its entire life? Now, I have to put this out here. Don't blame the Roman legionnaires. Blame the Roman military command system. Because it's not the soldiers' fault that the commanders are idiots. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe for more. If y'all have any ideas on another how-to video, let me know in the comments below. And as well, hopefully to see y'all in the month of March when we get started on a Celtic month. So, yeah. See you around, y'all.